What's up, everybody? Big Herc, getting down fresh out. You tune into another episode of Prison Talk, and I have a special YouTuber here with me today, Jessica Kent. She's here to answer some questions that I can't answer, and hopefully fill in some blanks for you guys. Jessica, what are some of the programs, if any, that they have in women's prison to help women rehabilitate or, re-entry back into society?
So there's not many, and it is difficult to get into a program. So if you're a drug addict, they have SATP, or they have, just longer drug rehabilitation barracks. So it's a whole program barracks. They can be 6 months, 18 months long, and inmates kind of run those. And you can sit through and kind of talk about why you were an addict and things like that. So that does have some value. There's some Christian programs. There are parenting classes, thinking errors classes, and it all sounds really good. It all sounds like, oh, we're going to help you with the GED class and parenting classes, and just sign up for these things. And it looks good on paper, but there's a huge disconnect here, because when we push people back into society as a felon with no job history, no job training, and nowhere to go, what do they do now? Are they thinking about that parenting class or that drug class they just took? No, they're thinking, how do I put food on the table? So a lot of people are like, well, what can the prisons do? What can prisons do? It's not really up to them. I think we have to take it a step back, a few steps back, and consider our drug laws. So half of all incarcerated people are serving time on a non-violent drug offense. We have 2.5 million Americans in jails and prisons right now. It's just not working, about 70% return to prison in the first 3 years. It's just like we're failing right now, and mainly because people don't want to hire felons. People don't want to rent to felons, and humans are only so tough and adaptable. A lot of people just give up. It is very challenging for them. So I think if prisons started to do a job training, job placement thing, like a massive job training thing, that would add a lot more value. Because if someone can come out with a job
and have a list of places you could actually go and get hired immediately.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people don't know, but for those who are watching, I know out here, your Class A license for drivers. They need drivers bad. I know a lot of ex-felons who have got hired as drivers for trucking, and also the city jobs. A lot of city jobs, they hire, they cannot discriminate based on your prior record here in California. Mm-hmm. I have a friend here, and they're hiring a lot of people for city jobs right now. So, look into it in your local city. Having gone to the halfway house, I went to the halfway house, and once you get employment, you got to give them 25%, and then it's like, you got to show your check stub every week. I mean, did you feel that the halfway house helped you to get that transition rather than going straight from prison to the street? I know for myself, having that little 3 months, initially I didn't want it, but I'm like, man, I'm glad I took it, because it gave me like a bridge to kind of get my shit together. Yeah. I mean, how do you feel about the halfway house?
So they were charging me too, like $100 a week to live there. It was actually not a halfway house. It was a 3/4 house.
Okay.
So I don't know if
that's crazy how they do rent though. I mean, out here it's a halfway house. It's 25% of your income.
Yeah. So $100 a week. So it was actually, I'm grateful that I had a place to go, but at the end of the day, it's all about money. And when you don't have it, what the hell are you going to do? So it was a lot harder for me to get on my feet and get a place after having, I was working 2 jobs. So that was difficult for me, but it did kind of give me it kept me accountable. I have to show up at a certain time, I can't just run around, I have curfew. So it did help. I was also on parole, but parole in Arkansas doesn't give a shit what you're doing. They're not gonna check up on you. New York State parole is a lot different. They were raiding my house at 3 o'clock in the morning. Arkansas, they were like, oh, you smoking meth? Okay, then we don't care as long as you're not smoking meth. You're good.
Yeah, that's like a big thing out there, huh?
Big thing in Arkansas.
Yeah. I know here, certain places, they'll really, depend on where you live at, they'll be all up in your house. And then other places, as long as you turn in your monthly paperwork, you stay out the way, your probation officer lets you kind of get your shit going.
Yeah.
Because, they're like, oh, I'm going to come to your job. I'm like, dude, why you want to come to my job and expose me? I mean, it's bad enough that I'm on this paperwork, and now it's like, you might get me fired.
Yeah, New York State Parole does that. So they showed up at my job, my parents' house. They raided my house at 2 a.m. So when I got out of prison in Arkansas, I think, oh, parole's going to suck. This is going to be really hard.
Yeah.
They're like, just show up, pay $40 a month, and you're good. Take a drug test. It was very chill, and I was so grateful for that. I was so grateful, because running all around and trying to get my daughter and working 2 jobs, it was already a lot of stress. So I was very grateful that parole was just a little bit lenient. I actually got off of parole 2 years ago.
Oh,
I've never been off paper. I've been on paper since I was 13. So.
And You mentioned in your interview also that you're on your way to getting your bachelor's degree. I mean, for those out there looking to get into like college or get, some type of schooling, were there any grants or scholarships you were able to apply for to help you?
Yeah, there's so many scholarships.
Okay.
I do get a grant every semester, and basically because my family is dirt poor, I was able to get financial aid.
Okay.
So it's actually really easy to apply for financial aid because that is a debt that you have to pay. You can't file bankruptcy on student loan debt. So
no, yeah.
they're actually kind of willing to be like, oh, here,
Take
go
this,
get into
yeah,
debt.
yeah.
So I like school. I know it does have some value, but it's not something that I would recommend to everyone because it's time consuming. It's a lot. So many people drop out after a couple of years. I'm about to graduate in March with my bachelor's degree. I've wanted to quit so many times. So it's very time consuming. It's very draining. It is difficult. So it's definitely not something I would recommend to most people.
Now, I know a lot of places now are pushing like trades, whether it's culinary arts, whether it's learning like mechanics, or something physical. I mean, how do you feel about that? Because I know I tell a lot of people, I said, look, man, you don't necessarily have to go to college, but if you get a trade, a lot of these trades are starting off $60, $70 an hour, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely do that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Anything that you're passionate about, just run for it and work as hard as you can. So anything with IT, anything that like, oh, I can get hired here after I get this done, that has immense value.
And as far as like just like entrepreneurial skills, I always tell people too, like if you've been in prison and you've been able to survive and you've hustled in there, if you take that same energy and hustle it into something legit, you can be just as successful. I mean, you having been in the drug game and been in the streets, I mean, how much of a factor you think that's played in your success as far as on the legit side?
Absolutely. So I didn't harness that talent and that skill that I had in anything positive in my past. I thought a hustler meant, selling drugs and running in the street. But really, drugs are not hard to sell. That does not make you a hustler.
Sell itself, yeah.
You know what I mean? So being a hustler is turning that completely around and chasing something positive. That has been the hardest. That has been the most rewarding and the most, I'm very grateful for that success. But I think a lot of people in prison are hustlers. A lot of people want to be entrepreneurs. So if we can bring them up, if we can rise them up and teach them how to harness that in a positive way, in a legal way, I mean, they're going to take over the world.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and I always try to tell people that, everybody has some type of God gift. You just have to figure out what it is. And when you find that, it's going to be your key to unlocking so many doors, because a lot of time people, they never even reach their potential.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I could sell that chain you're wearing right now to the dude in the lobby. You know what I mean? Like, I know I could do that.
Yeah.
So I think, if you're a felon and you're a hustler, you can become an entrepreneur now, especially in California with legal marijuana. That's a huge industry. I've seen lines of dispensaries.
I know, it's crazy. And there's young people out here, multimillionaires that are just making crazy money.
Yeah, I could never imagine. I met plenty of people in prison for weed. So It's awesome that California has turned that around.
Well, damn. Hey, you guys. Jessica Kent lacing us up, so you guys take notes and make sure you guys check out our social media links. Big Hurt Prison Talk.